All right, I think we're live. We're going to make sure that that is happening. Just going to give it a minute. Make sure that's up and running. But what's going on, Rage Nation? While we're waiting to get started up, I'm just going to take a sip here. And I'm going to do that just because I'm trying to finish my shake. Got a little later start because I was working out at the gym, but we're ready to rock and roll. Talk about all the stuff that happened at the event at the Houston GT this last weekend. So it was a really good event, and we're going to do an episode on this with probably Liam and Trevor and Dixon, but I wanted to talk about my games because when we do that episode, we're not going to break down the game, so I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the things I played against and noticed kind of from the event and just sharing all that. So before we do that, though, if you want to be cool and become a patron, you can do that at going to patreon.com/RageQuitWire. Try to put out a lot of content. And nice. We got Icky Pumpkin, who was also at the event. Did very well, represented Colorado well, so very good, my friend. Glad you could join us. Hopefully have a few more come in, and if you're watching this not during the live recording, make sure that you like and subscribe, because try to do this at least once a week, if not every other week. Obviously, going to Houston, haven't done it in probably 2 weeks, so glad people could hop on and join. So, getting into Houston, I got Longshanks pulled up, and I'll pull up my games here specifically. It was a good event. You can kind of see the standings here just to see where things ended up. Andre ended up taking it with Guild. We'll talk about that. We also had Brian finish second. Azul, who is Liam, came all the way from Australia, podiumed. He had to do that because they wouldn't let him back into the country of Australia if he didn't podium. So good job, Liam, with that. And then, so we got so far Guild, Rezzers, Outcast, Travis, 10 Thunders. Jared from Oklahoma got fifth with Neverborn. I ended up coming sixth with Bayou. Got another 10 Thunders, Landon, 7th, 8th, Jordan, another 10 Thunders. And then rounding out the top 10, also had Ryan playing Arcanus and Dixon playing Neverborn. So pretty good, and you can see from the mix of this, we had a good kind of different balance of just players and factions. Bayou, I don't know if that's my fault, but we had 7 Bayou players, so that turned out really good. But we had at least 3 from each faction, which I think is really solid showing. But you can see the top factions that were brought in this event. So well balanced. I definitely enjoyed it. And I'm going to keep making sure. Sorry, I got to make sure that this chat stays up. There we go. But yeah, so really good. And you can see we had a total of 35 players, a couple drops, but that's fine. So it's a lot of players, and we had a nice big open space. And the cool thing about the Houston event is there's actually enough room for like probably 50 to 60, 70 players. It's a big store, lots of room, comfortable. Really enjoy this event. I'm going to we have posted, but I'll post more pictures on the Rage Quit Wire Discord just so people can see some of the terrain and some of the crews that were brought. And yeah, it was pretty cool. So I wanted to go through kind of round by round. You can see that I finished 4-2. So just kind of see how I did and talk about the individual games. What's going on, Jeeps? Glad you could join us in the chat. Hope all is well. Just give you another heyo. Yeah, getting into it. So looking at round 1, I do have these on the app that I took. So I'll just kind of start going through it just so you guys can kind of see. So this one was an interesting pool. It was corner, plant explosives, let them bleed in your face, hold up the forces, sweating bullets, and protected territory. So this is a really bloody plant explosives pool. I didn't really like it because you're going to see in a second. I played against Ryan, who was playing Hoffman too. It was really sick though, and I did put pictures on the Discord, and yeah, I also just want to say these were amazingly painted. They won best painted. They were the alternate Hoffman models, so the ones that look like Dark Souls or whatever that reference is. And he not only had them beautifully painted, but they had sorry guys, they had basically lights in them as well. So it was just really solid. Like it looked really good. I was very impressed by it. Let's see here. Well, it'll help if I can find that. Doop, boop, boop. Sorry, I'm pulling it up real quick. There we go. That should be the tab. Maybe not. That's okay. All right. I was going to try to find the chat and have it on my phone, but I'm not going to worry about it. So, anyways, beautifully painted crew. And so we had Hoffman 2. He had the Weeping Huntress. I'll pull these up so you know what they are with the top. So Melissa Core with diesel engine. He brought this so he could shoot stuff and get positive to damage on the charge. It only works against melee, so it didn't quite work like he wanted it to. We have Joss, who also had diesel engine, so pretty sick on Joss because getting a positive, especially on the on his melee attack, irreducible damage hitting that 5, that's always sick. Of course, you had the Peacekeeper, the Giant Worm, Soulstone Cache, always good. Had a couple Watchers to move around and scheme. So really beautifully painted. Not a terrible list. Hoffman does sometimes struggle into it, but yeah, that's just kind of what it is. Sometimes he struggles into plant explosives. I ended up bringing Zip with 12 cups of coffee, Earl, Bo Fishbacher, 2 Iron Skeeters, the First Mate, McTavish, and Toast. I only brought 3 Soul Stones. That was a little dicey. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But I felt good bringing McTavish just to really punish some of the squishier kind of scheme runners like the Watchers. And he's really mobile, and that gun just hopefully would keep the threat. But we'll see how see how it turned out. You can see, obviously, the score I ended up winning. It's 7, I think it was 7-2, 7-3, maybe 8-3, something like that. But I ended up taking Hold Up Their Forces and Protected Territory. Zip, when you play against armor with Zip, you usually don't want to go with any of the killy stuff because it's so hard to kill things that are armor 2 with Zip. So I didn't want to risk it, even though I had McTavish. I didn't want to risk getting in there and then just not being able to finish off the points. Protected Territory is easy to score. Hold Up with the Skeeter, especially with that list he brought with all those beat sticks that are like 8, 9, 10 soul stones. Shouldn't be an issue. So, and it really wasn't. It ended up turning out really well. The big turning point in this game is I ended up just kind of going to the flanks, and I kind of set up some pianos, and on top of that, with the pylons that Hoffman puts out, it really made it difficult for the crew that Ryan was running to easily get through different areas. So it ended up getting kind of really a problem really quick for him. And there was one instance where I actually had Zip jump in and engage Joss and engage Melissa Core. And when I did that, I have 12 cups of coffee, so they can't do their bonus. So if we're looking at Zip, remember, 12 cups has diversion, so your opponents can't take a bonus. And then on top of that, you can clear out any kind of markers. And then the big thing is also, when I got in there, I put pianos, so you can drop pianos around it where they couldn't really move. And then on top of that, I had Boring Conversation up. And on top of that, he's chatty. So it was just this really painful area of the board where Zip was just making life miserable. And that's what Zip's supposed to do when you bring this version of him, at least. So that was really good because it basically got Melissa and Joss stuck in. And then once I had them stuck in, McTavish, he ignores friendly fire, the new version does, and he ignores concealment, which Zip also puts out. So Zip was engaging and making their life miserable, and McTavish killed like Joss and was starting to work on Melissa towards the end of the game. So it just turned out really, really good, where I ended up taking some shots early. There was actually a point in the game where the first mate had a Peacekeeper come after him, and that was pretty rough, not gonna lie. But the good thing about it is the Peacekeeper ended up having to go to the top left like corner of the board to deal with first mate. And yeah, once he did that, I just went and jumped and stole one of his bombs. And first mate did end up dying to Hoffman. Hoffman just clawed him and dunked him. But it was fine because at that point, the Peacekeeper was so far out of position, the rest of my crew didn't have to worry about it. Earl ended up getting smoked too, but you got to expect Earl's going to die. McTavish is such a beast. There's so many, he puts out so many scheme markers, and that demise is really good. Bo just kind of kept topping him off a bit. So he definitely was solid. If you are playing Bayou and it's like, oh crap, they brought some armor, just bring McTavish. He'll take care of one or two of them and it'll feel good. I also proxied Toast. Toast did a good job getting a hold up point. He also just is fast with All Terrain Turtle. And then you take the wheel. Just a discarded card to take the interact action. So he's good for putting a bomb down and then just putting down schemes. And then when you have shots, you can put burning out with the flamethrower, which is really, really good. So this, I'll talk about Zip later in the tournament, but in this round one, performed really well. Was able to deny a bunch of points. There was also a point where, this is actually why I don't know if I'm crazy about Hoffman in Arcanist. I actually like him better in Guild because Guild has leadline coats. When I play Zip, if I'm playing Hoffman in Guild, coats means I can't up we go and throw him around. But since obviously he's in blue, I was able to just go ahead and literally take Hoffman and I put him into my deployment zone just so I didn't have to worry about him. This was after I killed Joss. Zip then just, tossed Melissa, rolled out, took Hoffman, you're coming with me, and just ridiculous displacement. So I definitely prefer Hoffman in Guild just because of control for things like that. So I think Ryan, what did he score? I think he had In Your Face, and I think he had maybe Protected. I can't quite remember, but he didn't score a bunch of it. It was a good round one. And let's pull up Longshanks real quick, because there were some surprising results as we kind of went through the day. Let's see here. Tom ended up getting smashed by Landon. Poor Tom. Let's see here. Anything. And I always this is the best part about going to tournaments, when you're like looking at each round and you can see the results as they come in, and sometimes you get surprised by them. So it's interesting to see it as it kind of happened. Icky ended up winning yours. Good job. Playing what? Seamus? Yeah. Let's see here. Any other surprises? Oh, this was a round one. Eeyore versus Azahul. A draw. These two, top of the tournament, getting a draw. That's actually not terrible round one, because that lets you avoid maybe getting right into some tough matchups, but starting with a real tough matchup. 7-2 is what I won by. Okay. Oh no, he took Sweating Bulletin In Your Face. Okay. Let's see here. Anything else? 2-2-2. Sorry, just looking, guys. Poor Trevor getting put up against Andre round one. Let's see here. Jim just barely beat Jared. Yeah, so, I mean, no crazy shocking results, but definitely interesting. So round one, ended up going 1-0. Felt pretty good. And so talk about round two now. And that was Zip. So I pretty much decided to play Zip and Maw almost exclusively in this event, just because they're my strongest masters. If I was I think I probably should have soloed Maw, but I don't know. But round two, I finally got, and I loved playing in this Houston GT this year because I got to play a couple players that I just never played before. And one of those people was John Mozart. So I got to play against him, had a blast. I'll tell you all about it because some interesting decisions were made in our game. So round two was standard, stuff the ballots, deathbeds, power ritual, deliver a message, espionage, ensnare. So this one was interesting. It was kind of the deployment zones were really muddy. And there was one deployment zone that was just awful. It had a big lake on one flank. It had a building, had some walls, another big building, and some severe terrain, I think, on the other flank. And I luckily was the attacker. And I actually, when I walk up on a table, I usually just put my stuff on one side and then we start from there. And when I looked at this, I was like, I do not want to be on this side of the table. I was playing Maw, which is what I decided to do just because I think she's really good in Stuff the Ballots and Cloak and Dagger. But looking at it, this was not good for her. I didn't want to play Maw 2, so I just was deciding, okay, I'm luckily the attacker. I'm going to throw John into this deployment. John ended up picking Wong, which isn't very mobile in a lot of situations, so it was definitely tough for him. Because he wasn't sure where he wanted to deploy, and I'll show you the list that we took. So he ended up taking the Wong choice. So don't mind all the skulls. So he brought Wong 1, Olivia, Alphonse, Sammy, Bo Peep, Lucky Emissary, and a Swine Cursed with Inferiority Complex. Good because it gives you Ruthless, which doesn't matter, except for on Trixie Belle that I brought. Swagger, more important. So we get focus, and it has bully, so it can cook in suits. Always good. So that's what he brought. And the only thing that ignored that giant piece, that water feature, was the Lucky Emissary. He also brought the Lucky Emissary just because it picks up markers, and he knew I was going to play Maw with pit traps. So definitely a solid choice there. Don't forget, that's always a good choice. And then I brought Get in the Trap list. This is Maw Tucket with 12 Cups, Little Lass with a Soulstone Miner, Trixie Belle, Big Brain Bryn, Jebediah, brought McTavish again, and brought me some Bo Peep. I brought McTavish just because the board had a lot of concealment. There was a lot of forest, but then there were also trees that were just causing concealment. And there was also a couple schemes like espionage, ensnare, power ritual that I just saw a lot of opportunities for McTavish to help out with. I ended up taking espionage and deathbeds, whereas John, I think, took deliver a message and what was his other one? Let's check here. Round two. John, what did you end up taking? There it is. And espionage. So he also took espionage as well. So this game, like I said, it was interesting. It was very slow for him to get out of his deployment zone because of that huge lake. So turn one, I end up getting pass tokens because I kind of want to see what he's doing and then I want to have time to react to it. So I end up popping Olivia. She was just kind of hiding behind next to a strategy marker, probably because she was going to vote once she could. But I knew she was only 4 hit points. So literally all I did is I hollered up McTavish. And if you look at McTavish's card, guess what? He does min 2 shooting damage. Doesn't matter. I think I had the Black Joker in hand too. So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to put him up there and he's going to on the move forward, take a 14-inch shot at Olivia. Her defense kind of sucks. So I had the cards to kind of make that work. And just kill her. I killed her before she even activated, so I didn't even wait too long on that, just because I wanted to get more control on the board. And that's kind of one of the things you want to focus on. If you have the opportunity to kill something like a totem, especially one that is significant, definitely take the time, be like, okay, can I kill this thing? And there's a lot of situations where you can guarantee killing it. Hopefully it doesn't cost you too many cards and you can just flip and hit it, which I pretty much did. Played Maw 1. Maw 1 is super good. Careful planning. Just if you're kind of new to playing Maw Tucket or against her, turn 1 and in like Cloak and Dagger, even a little bit here. Gaining 2 pass tokens is really good. If your hand sucks, drawing cards is also really good. There's not as many times where moving a model matters. There are some times. I have used that to extend Maw's threat, get first activation, go kill something, or get her loose so I can put a pit trap down, then charge it and kill it. And then giving shielded 2 models does save life, so sometimes that crow is also good. Ill Omen's also getting +2 because I did bring Trixie Belle as well, who has it. And then just gold on the back of the card, giving out focus turn 1, hitting people with spoons. It's a good time. So for some reason, I think John I think he wanted to start causing problems. So he ended up taking Alphonse up the board pretty early, like turn 1. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to throw Alphonse in there and just kind of get him in. The problem is he didn't have him supported turn 1 enough. He didn't have enough glowy on him. He didn't have stuff to pull him out if it did start to get hairy, which it did. Because, spoiler, by turn 2, Alphonse wasn't there anymore. The rest of the crew was kind of still muddying around in the water. So he was just unsupported. Poor Alphonse just couldn't quite make it. Maw ended up putting him to 1 turn 2, 1 hit point. And then my Bo Peep actually finished him off by whipping him around. So not having to worry about Alphonse for the rest of the game was definitely huge. Because 3 damage, sweeping strike. Luckily, I had Brynn hanging around. And I knew you were going to do that. Discarding just to not get triggers was really, really good. What's going on, Cody? Good to see you in the chat. Glad you could hop in while I'm talking about my games at Houston. So, big brain, definitely doing the work. And the problem that I think that actually it wasn't that big of a problem playing against Wong, because I get surprised a lot of times how many cards Wong can actually draw just randomly. The glow is really cool to do that. Also, just Sammy with petty illusions. Just every time you damage one of your whiz-bang, you just draw a card. Sammy was doing some solid work. Turn 1 and 2. Actually, turn 2. Turn 1, she kind of just moved up. So turn 3 was an interesting turn because John brought the Swine Cursed into Maw, and he also brought in Bo Peep. I think he was just trying to put pressure there around that ballot box I was sitting around. So I kind of waited until the Swine Cursed activated because I didn't want him to vote. And John ended up cheating for something. I think it actually was the Heroic Intervention. It was either Heroic Intervention he had to cheat for, or he had to cheat for an attack or something he was doing. And when he did that, Maw was able to scamper out. And this is why I think Maw is actually one of the more powerful Bayou Masters. Her keyword having scamper with cheating, just pushing 2, a lot of times makes your opponent's activations inefficient. It makes it where it's harder to pin down and kill, one of the Trixie models. So once he did that, I was able to scamper out of melee with Bo. And then Sammy was unactivated, sitting up by a ballot. So I had the cards in hand because of Brynn, Maw, and just kind of filtering a bit. And I was just like, you know what? I have a low tome, so I can create a trap and draw cards off that to get even better cards. And then I think I can walk in charge and kill Sammy probably in 2 swings, because at this point, I think John also only had 1 Soulstone left. So I do that Maw, send her up there, draw me some cards, and I end up slamming Sammy into a pit trap and getting some crit strikes. I think I did like 6 damage. I think I did moderate with 2 rams to her. And John tried to stone it with his last stone, but unfortunately he flipped min. So Sammy just red mist, just exploded all over the place. It was really good. So Maw was up there controlling it, And then the next turn, she just charges back down, takes care of Bo Peep and the Swine Cursed. And it was bad that John deployed down that flank too, because it really left the whole right flank just not challenged by him. So I was able to drop the Soulstone Miner up in his top right marker for the ballot, and I just kept using the bonus action to vote. There's a Haberdasher I got that went up there and helped drop schemes for my espionage, and the hamster wheel, the lucky emissary for John, wasn't really doing much because I know people freak out about Maul's pit traps, and they're like, "Oh man, you gotta put down pit traps and you gotta throw people in them, and that's how you win with Maul." And yeah, you can, but it's not necessary. I think besides the pit traps that I deployed, I think I only put 2 or 3 other pit traps down. I really didn't put a lot down just because it's not necessary. Mainly with Maw Tucket, I'm doing create trap to draw cards. I don't actually care about the pit trap. If I need it to kill somebody, I will be like, okay, yeah, now it's important for me to make. But most of the time, I just want cards off of it. I don't actually care about the hazardous one, just because it's fine. But if you don't have the mask for Knockaside, you can easily just get a crow to put injured on him, or you can get crit strike to plus the damage. And don't forget, here's another reason why I think the pit trap game is just kind of like, yeah, okay, it's fine. Jeb now kind of changes the math on that too. So Jeb has Scoot and Boot. So if you look at Scoot and Boot, once per turn, you can slide a pit trap underneath a model. When you do that, that's going to proc a damage and injured. So he can get that going. He also creates a trap. So usually with Maw, I'll keep 6 of crows. I'll ride with me, either Bryn or Trixie Belle. Ride with me, put a pit trap, Scoot and Boot, slide it under the target I want to kill, maybe shoot it, or ride off into the sunset with Jeb. Just really matters what I want to do with him. So Jeb really changes the math on that for sure. I didn't get much use out of his Gatling gun actually in this tournament. I used Trampling Hooves a little bit more, but actually he was doing a lot of scheming too. So it's kind of nice to have a flexible model like that. Let's see, anything else? Oh yeah, Trixie Belle's just a beast. If you are playing Bayou, especially Maw, and you haven't played Trixie Belle yet, first off, she's a lovely looking gremlin. Okay, I'm not saying anything, but she's a cutie. She's a butterface kind of thing. She's got that butterface. She also has Ill Omen, so that stacks with Maw. She has Manipulative, which is fine. She is squishy. She will die, especially if your opponent ignores negatives, but you just try to position her well. But Sharp Wit and her lure are just so super good. They're against willpower, stat 7 on the lure. You can pull models in or push them out. So there was some games where the push out mattered. But her Sharp Wit has a built-in mask for either you're coming with me or coordinated attack. I did use that to get a couple extra swings with Maw on John's stuff. So she just went in, put slow on a model. Maw took another swing. Min 3 damage. You don't get triggers with Maw, but just doing 3 damage, just 3 extra damage, essentially that makes Sharp Wit a slow attack with 3, 4, 5 damage. And I don't know about you, it's pretty good. So if Maw is nearby, that's going to cause some problems. But you could also do your coming with me just to put people in traps. So also did that before. The only thing I don't like about Trixie is her bonus doesn't come up a ton, but it comes up more in this Gaining Grounds. So looking at the score of this one, things ended up dying for John. Wong did put a little pressure on with his shockwaves. Something that I always forget until I play against Wong is Fizap gives a +1 or gives a glowy, and the damage you suffer is +1 per discarded glowy. So I think there was a time where Trixie Belle and Bryn had like 2 or 3 glowy on them and just ended up, I failed it, and then they're taking 4 or 5 damage. I had to stone it just so they didn't die. So it was getting close. If he would have put more pressure on turn 1 and 2 with Wong's Shockwave, it could have started getting really gross pretty early. I also forgot about 3 Demon Bag. I was going to, which model was it? Oh, it was Bryn. I did Intuition with Bryn, and I saw the red Joker and a high tome. So I was just sitting there saying, I could charge Wong, flip this, it's probably going to go off, and then I can not only make Wong slow, but I'll also get to draw that red Joker. And I did that, and John was like, you apparently forgot about 3 Demon Bag. You don't get any kind of triggers. So I just had to use the red Joker for other purposes, and I did. So made me sad, but it's you just got to remember it, I guess. But looking at how it ended up coming out, boop, 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 boop. Oh, didn't quite put the score in there. So anyways, I ended up getting 7-2. I think I just didn't score the last point of, what was it? I didn't score the first point of Deathbed. So it's funny, I'll take Deathbed sometimes, but getting the first point's fine, but there's sometimes where I don't want to give away the game on that I have Deathbeds. And not only that, I want to model dead sometimes before the scheme's down. So I did that in this game. I just didn't get a scheme down. Everything I wanted to kill it now. I didn't want to wait on it. So I ended up just saying, you know what? I'm not going to score the first point. I'm just going to go ahead and set up for the second point to put scheme markers next to the strat, which is what I picked as my marker. So I could have got the first point. Like I said, sometimes I would rather kill a model right there and then than set up Deathbeds and then kill it. Because you got to think, if you put the scheme marker down and they suss out that you are going for it, then they could move it away. They could activate the hamster wheel, could just run it over. So I just decided to hold off and just score my second point. So 7-2, not too bad. A lot of fun playing against John. Just didn't quite get his Wong game going. There were some interesting results in this round for sure. The first one is Landon caught a draw against one of my Oklahoma buddies, Ryan, becoming a really solid player. Played some really good games against some really good opponents here. Let's see here. What else were some interesting ones? Man, Nicky, you got another win there. Good job. Let's see here. Trevor ended up getting a win. Jim ended up beating Christian, another Bayou on Bayou hate crime. Andre caught Brian and beat him by 2. There was, yeah, I think it was turn 2. Andre killed, I think he killed Von Stuck unactivated, and Frank was stunned. So that was an interesting story. Brian might share with us when he comes on to talk about that one. Let's see here. Azahul Liam fought against Dixon. That was a 7-6 game, so good win for that. And yeah, going to round 3. Going through it. Okay, so round 3. Oh, this was an interesting game. So I ended up playing against... Let's scroll down. Jordan. And the reason why you don't see Jordan having anything for his master selected there is because he played a Toto and a Toto-led crew. So this was actually a pretty cool thing to see. But he brought a Toto with the Shadow Effigy, Fuhatsu, Lone Swordsman, Terracotta Warrior, Yasunori, and a Woku Raider. So he had this kind of really cool samurai theme. The whole purpose of this is just to be samurais, bring all the cool samurai stuff. And it's a pretty solid list. There's a lot of problems that I had to worry about. One, obviously 3 AP with a Toto is just kind of nasty. You also get the Shadow Emissary just popping up turn 3. Fuhatsu has this gun that is just covering a big chunk of the board. I'll show you the pool here in a second, but it was wedge, so this is an aggressive pool. You have take the hit models. Also, if I kill something, they could turn back into it. Lone Swordsman, gonna hack things apart. Yasunori flying around, causing problems, either tanking or doing a crap ton of damage. Woku Raider was cute. The biggest threat to me is that it had fast and then also coordinated attack. I didn't want it near some of these beat sticks like the Yasunori or Todo to get more attacks. So you can see that this was Wedge Raid the Vaults. So already pretty much like, hey, let's fight. Power Ritual, Outflank, Information Overload, Take Prisoner, and Protect Territory. So luckily it was more kind of scheming oriented. Probably helped me a little bit more because if this was a killy pool, I think he could have focused more on that to score points, but his crew wasn't as efficient getting some of those points. So my list, this is my Asami bullet list as I like to call it. I always, like I said, my plan was to play Mawtucket. If they declare a killy kind of 10 Thunders crew like Oni or Misaki, or in this case, a Todo, I bring this just because it's a little more durable than some of my other Maw lists. So I got Mawtucket, Mechamimaw with 12 cups, Little Lass, Soulstone Miner. I brought the Lucky Emissary, Sparks, Jebediah, Mech Pork Chop, and Trixie Belle. So as this kind of started to develop, he went into Maw super hard. So a Todo over here, going into Mawtucket very hard. He's a 3-4-5. So keep in mind, against a lot of my crew, this is going to be a 1, 2, and 3 damage track. Can put Crit Strike in there, which he did, but still, I ended up having Sparks just kind of tinker with Maw, just to keep her up. So, yeah, he was getting positives. Yeah, he was doing a lot. I think that by the beginning of turn 2, Maw was down to like maybe 4 hit points. I mean, he was going pretty hard to the paint there. I had to like try to lure her back and heal her up with Sparks. And by the end of turn 2 and going to turn 3, Maw was pretty much back to full and feeling pretty good. However, Maw was starting to put out some pain on his crew. So by turn 2, one of the Terracottas was already taking some damage. Yasunori was taking some damage. The Woku Raider was dead by turn 2. I ended up just hitting it with Maw's Harpoon. So cool trick with Maw is she can be min 3. A lot of people focus on her drill because it ignores armor, which is great. But her Harpoon gun, if you get it set up, you can really start to put pain on models, basically doing min 3 if they don't ignore hazardous. So I basically hit the scatter, kind of like hit scatter on the Yasunori. So now it's not defense 7, it's only defense 6 because it hits pit trap, takes damage. Then I Harpoon it, and in this situation with the Woku Raider, I did the same thing to it. And it reduces the damage by a gun, or from a gun, by 1. But that doesn't really matter because they're taking 2 anyways. So it got to the point where I like cheated in for severe 5 damage and then dragged it into the terrain to kill it before it could do anything that I'm sure he wanted to do. He probably wanted to outflank with it. And since I killed it early, that forced one of the Terracotta Warriors to go over to try and score his outflank point, which is fine. But yeah, this Harpoon gun to do min 3, 2 damage, and then ping 1 because you're going to drag it into the pit trap. 1 injured, shoot it again. Now you're +1 stat on top of that. Once again, 2, 1 injured. So it's just min 3 gun, which is really good. A lot of people kind of forget about it. And then when you pull it out on them, they don't like it, which I don't blame them because it's really solid. So scatter was big in this game. A lot of his crew didn't ignore pit traps. There was a time in the game when I scattered 3 times to kill the Shadow Emissary once it transformed. So just really, really solid stuff with Maw 2. Just kind of hanging around causing problems. That was her job. The Soulstone Miner basically tried to take care of a Terracotta, but I sucked at it. So Terracotta never died. Made me sad. Lucky Emissary, I just kind of skirted back to the back points because sitting on those back points counts as 2. So he just kind of went back and forth from those back ones. And if something got close, I could run it over. But he never really came back to challenge it. So it felt a little bad, but I also was scoring espionage. So it didn't feel too bad. But it never feels great when your 10 Soulstone model is sitting kind of back, just sitting on a raid marker. But if it's scoring you, VPs and it counts as two VPs, not two VPs, but it counts as 2 points for the strategy, it's worth it. It didn't feel great because that's basically a 10 Soulstone handicap that I'm taking. Sparks was just a man, just healing stuff up. Jebediah did okay. He tried to run away, but Fuhatsu ended up shooting him dead. Mech Porkchop, I actually didn't like in this matchup. It didn't do as much as I wanted it to do. Fuhatsu and Ototo kind of managed it and killed it pretty easy. I didn't feel great about it. Trixie Belle, maybe I switch her out. I don't know. I didn't love her in this one because she's not really big on armor, but the +1 initiative did help. That actually came in pretty clutch. The Don't Mind Me didn't matter a ton because of the strategy. So I feel like because of the strat, I probably should have brought something else there. But this was a close one. It was like Jordan played a good game. The Lone Swordsman did okay. The Lone Swordsman, he actually made a mistake with. I think it was turn 4. He was scoring... I think he was scoring the strategy because he had it on my marker and there was nothing over there. But he ended up moving off of it because I think Jordan said he thought he had it. He thought he already had his points set up. But he moved off, he killed the little lass, and he moved towards Mawtucket. And when it was end of turn, he realized that he didn't. So he ended up losing out on that point. And because of that, this ended up being a 5-4 win for me. I ended up scoring Take Prisoner and Protected Territory. And then I think, 3 of the strategy. I couldn't get the second points for those just because the way things worked out. It's kind of annoying. And he also had Take Prisoner and he had Outflank. So he scored 1 there, and then 2 for the raid. So it was a really close one. Probably should have been a draw. There was a couple Black Joker flips I had turn 5 that I kind of needed to score my second points of Take Prisoner and Protected Territory. Actually, I don't think I could score Take Prisoner because I killed the Asinori. Yeah. Because it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, do I kill it or do I blah, 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 score my second point to Take Prisoner? And I just decided to kill it because that was the appropriate move. You don't just let that thing keep flying around. So it felt pretty good there. Let's see here. Going through round 3, anything kind of crazy on here? I don't think there was. Ryan ended up beating a gym, so that was a good win for him. Let's see here. Like I said, my game 5-4. And anything else crazy? I don't think so. Owen ended up getting Icky. Icky didn't quite make it that round. 2-1's good for that day, though. Oh, and there was another draw with Landon and Travis. That was also a close game. So Landon, just tough opponents. Just stinks when you get 2 draws. 2 draws makes it hard for you to podium, for sure. Okay, so round 4. This is going into day 2. So round 4, I think I was, because of all the draws and stuff, I believe Andre and I were the only undefeated players left. I think that we were both 3-0 and everybody else was kind of like a mix of losses and draws. So it was definitely interesting looking at how things were standing by that point. So round 4 was Stuff the Ballots, Deathbeds, Power Ritual, In Your Face, Hold Up Their Forces, and Take Prisoner. Now, it wasn't a surprise. Andre was playing this list that I'll show you in a minute. It's a Perdita 2 list. It's got some things in it that are interesting. And so I kind of knew that going in, so I had to think of how I deal with that much range and mobility and focus. The main thing I thought is I don't want to deal with this. I want to make it as inconvenient for him to get to my models as possible. Even like I know he could destroy thing like terrain. I know that he can move an Aporel and all this crap, but I just decided I need to make it as miserable as possible. So that's why I decided a couple of things, but I'll show you the list first. So he ended up bringing Perdita 2. So he has his totem. He second mastered Sonya Creed. Frank with Leadline Coat, so I can't throw him and get him in bad situations. Abuela, Purifying Flame for reasons. Guild Mage with a Leadline Coat. I don't know. Guild Mage is fine. He probably does some cute things with it that I didn't see in the game because it just voted in our game. So that's his base list. It doesn't look like a lot, but remember, Perdita can summon Pistoleros. Sonya can summon all that other nonsense. So this is a summon crew that also just murders your face. So I brought the same zip list minus no McTavish. I ended up bringing Maris. I got to find a switch out for her. She hasn't been pulling her weight with a lot of these new models. I got to rethink kind of zip in general. But I brought First Mate, 2 Iron Skeeters, Bo Fishbacher, Toast, Earl, and Zip with 12 cups. So I was actually, when I deployed kind of on 2 parts of my wedge. Not my wedge, of my flank deployment. There was a lot of alleys, so I couldn't run too effectively. There wasn't a ton of forest. There's some walls. So it wasn't great because there's ways for him to get some good long shots off on my crew. So my general idea was after we deployed, he had Perdita Frank kind of over here on the right side, and he had Sonya and the Purifying Flame on the left side. So my idea was I'm going to pivot hard to Sonya's side and try to take her out. However, it didn't work because there was a big moment turn 1 where, and because of the way it deployed, I thought I could kill Sonya or one of her summons to score in your face with Zip. So I thought I could do that. However, it got to the point where it just wasn't going to happen, but I'll kind of talk about it here in a second. Thanks. I do look a little different in person than I do on YouTube. I think the camera puts on 50 pounds. But looking at, so I chose in your face because I thought I could kill Sonya or one of her summons. And then I took Power Ritual because I thought that was going to be easy to score at least 1 point on. And if this was going to be a tight game, I knew it was going to be a win by a small margin. Anyways, the big part of this is I had a stacked hand turn 1. I had 2 13s and a red joker that I just drew. Not only that, I showboated a little bit to make my hand even better. So in my head, I was moving and I wasn't trying to not get shot by Sonya because I thought if she had to double walk and shoot me with her stupid flaming attack, that gives out burn 3, by the way, if you're not familiar with that. I thought I could just defend myself, be like red joker that misses, because the best model he had to target was Bo Fishbacher, and he's defense 6. So I was like, okay, this is his best target because he's not in concealment. Just the way I kind of moved him around, it just didn't happen that turn 1. And I was okay with that because I was almost baiting Sonya to double walk up so then I could just beat the crap out of her. So I was actually baiting that part of the fight, right? My other flank, I just actually hard redeployed back towards the rest of my crew. However, if you look at Sonya's card, and the attack that I'm talking about is Sapping Flames, it doesn't target defense, it targets willpower. And talking to Dixon, he thinks that I was remembering Sonya's Flame Burst on her title, which I might have been. But in my head, I thought Sapping Flames was defense, and it's totally not. It's willpower. So, if we want to take a look at Bo Fishbacher here for a second. Bo Fishbacher is only willpower 4. So there was a funny moment, turn 1, where Sonya did walk, and shoot Bo. And I cheated in a 13, and Andre just looks at me like, what are you doing? He's like, this is attacking willpower. I was like, Ah, cool. Well, you're at a negative. Cool. And another thing that Sonya didn't want to do is Sonya only wanted to hit moderate and severe with her sapping flames. So even on a negative, he was getting the double blast, which is bad because if you look at pyrotechnics, when this model would place a blast marker, it may place it anywhere within 2 of the target or another blast marker. So he was able to put burning 3 on, I think it was 4 different models. It was bad. That really set the pace because then the next turn she ended up shooting again because I had to activate, I think I had to activate Toast, just so he didn't die or something. And then she activated and put out like another 9 burning on my models. It was pretty gross. I was able to kill the Purifying Flame with First Mate on turn 1. So that was good. I wasn't too bad set up, but Andre hitting so many moderates on negatives really started just burning the crap out of my crew. I think I had a couple models like burning 9 or more by the end of turn 2, start of turn 3. It was not good. Turn 1 was okay, but Bo taking that burning really was bad because I could have easily put him in concealment to make Andre at least use a Soul Stone, or I could have hid kind of behind a wall. There's a lot of different things I could have done to make that a harder shot for him. And that's probably what cost me the game when I kind of reflected on it. I actually don't think Zip had a bad matchup there, but I do think that I should have known that, which I do now. I should have looked at the card. But also, Zip should have been a little more aggressive turn 2. I didn't go after Sonya with Zip until turn, I think it was turn 3. And that was definitely a mistake on my part. I should have been a little more aggressive and kind of trying to dunk her earlier. And I think the reason I didn't is because I was trying to bait Andre into going hard to the bottom right of the board. And I thought if I went too hard towards Sonya, then Perdita comes up, stuns Zip, and all that bad stuff happens. So yeah, it definitely, I was keeping it pretty tight because if we go to the score, we didn't keep tracking it, which is fine. I was keeping with the ballots, so I was scoring that, which I did get 3 points off the ballots. I did get a point off Power Ritual, and I did get a point off In Your Face, so I did end up with 5. However, there was, because of the just things getting wrecked, Toast ended up getting wrecked by Frank, which it was crazy to see. Turn 1, Frank can basically go from easily his deployment all the way into my deployment, almost by like my ballot marker. And then once he killed Maris, he ended up turning around and going to the very right corner of the board and killing Toast. So and it's not like it took him a turn and a half to do that. It took him 1 turn, and he also got to attack in that same turn. Because you just go, I'm going to move with Perdita, Frank, like 5 inches, and I'm going to Aporel to have him go another one, and then I'm going to obey him to walk again or charge again. So, I mean, he's getting like 10 to 15 inches of out of activation movement to get where he needs to get. So very efficient. Andre pilots it very well. I would like a crack at it again because it's good. I don't think it's busted. I just kind of went at attacking it wrong. The way I attacked it was okay, but obviously taking that much burning was just bad. So yeah, I think playing again, I would have a better shot at it, but man, it puckers you up real bad. Like it makes you really clench your butthole, man, because there are some scary models in that crew. Perdita has the ability to just ping you. Frank's going to kill you. You have Sonya setting you on fire, so you have this kind of like slow life tick happening. And it's just a very fast crew as well, especially with those pistoleros. Yeah, but it was a good game. Andre ended up getting an 8-5. I couldn't, like I said, I just didn't have AP to deny him, which will become a theme again later. So round 4, got 2 more rounds after this. Trying to see if there's anything of note in this round that happened. Ooh, good game Mickey Pumpkin had with Landon. That's a sweet game. Good job. Jim couldn't quite hang on against Brian. It's a close game. Liam got another tie, so once again we have another good player getting a tie against Jordan, who's one of the players that I beat. And Ryan ended up beating Owen. That was a good game for him. You can see I lost 8-5. Andre took Deathbeds and Power Ritual. I thought Power Ritual was interesting for him to take, but after seeing how mobile that crew was, made sense. Very easy for them to get those points. And what else did he take? Deathbeds. Oh, he took it by the marker. Took it by the ballots. Got it off toast. Made me sad. Okay, and the reason... So the funny thing is, I did take Zip into Perdita. So let's go back to this real quick, right? So I did take Zip because I was like, I'm done with this fire thing. She's not going to be able to move because I have 12 cups. I'm going to take her in there, and I'm going to make sure she can't shoot anything, and she's just going to be slapping with Zip, which I felt okay. Because, right, 2, 3, 4, she's only got stones and shielded. So, yeah, that's good. So I felt pretty good about this, and eventually I was going to bring the first mate in to help finish her off. But, once again, Andre decided to only go to Sonia. So I don't know why she has a 2-inch reach. It sucks because now 2, 3, 5, she spikes super hard. Also, this model may have one friendly model within 4, heal 1. So not only is she hitting, but then she's healing. So all this stuff that I'm doing, she's just healing off, which just felt really bad. Anyways, he ended up spiking to the point where I was out of soul stones. He was almost out of soul stones. And he spiked into doing 5 damage to Zip, which was enough to kill him. Zip dies. And yep, I was like, we can call it there. Calculate it up, see what happens. It was bad. I got outplayed a little, and then I got spiked. So those two combination of things just made it really rough. Really, really rough. Oh, nice. Icky got double mastered as well that round. He said he got Shenlong and McCabe. So yeah, that's definitely rough, man. I've been on not McCabe. I played against Shenlong and Misaki recently, but not McCabe. But I can still tell that's a tough game for you. I can feel you there. All right, going into round 5, got 2 more, and then wrap this thing up. So round 5. Was that this one? Nope. That's round 6. Oh, my round 5 was against Dixon. That one's a quick one. I can just talk about that because it got really bad. I'm just going to pull up Maw because I played Maw into his Titania 1. So Dixon, this whole thing with Dixon was trying to make Titania, because that's his favorite master, make her work. But he also was just like, hey, let's see what Killjoy can do, see if he's even playable. So he had Killjoy on the board. He had like a Malosaurus Rex. He had the Kurgan and Maurice, Effigy with the upgrade. And I'm not sure if I said Malosaurus Rex, but Malosaurus Rex. So anyways, I played Maw 1. It was into Cloak and Dagger. He was surprised because he thought I'd bring Maw 2 because to ignore the Hungry Land markers and to ignore the underbrush. However, pass tokens I thought were going to be more important because this was, I believe it was wedge deployment. So it's another aggressive pool and it had some killy schemes. So I end up going with Maw. I get 2 pass tokens. I know Dixon's aggressive. So I kind of moved McTavish not quite to the midline on the very left flank, but kind of around that area. Make it difficult to get to him. He ends up going into him with Killjoy, does 3 damage, but I stone it all off. Then he ends up going into McTavish with Titania. I think he ends up doing 5 damage, but I stone it all off. So he's getting flustered because he's done like 6, 7, 8 damage, but I haven't taken any on McTavish. Maybe one. I think one because he slid an underbrush underneath him. However, by the time he did that, I still had Maw and Trixie Belle to activate, and I think Toast too, maybe. So, anyways, I ended up going with Maw. I had a pretty stacked hand at that point because you get cards with Maw. I put a pit trap down, draw 2 cards. I end up going in with my wooden spoon. I think I stoned for a ram. No. I had a high mask, so I end up hitting with a mask, do some damage, hit him into the trap. I end up hitting him, getting a ram. So Titania is like more than half dead by the end of this. She's slow as well because of Trixie Belle. She came in, and I get to go first on turn 2. I activate Maw, and I finish killing Titania with double crit strike and a lot of fun. So Dixon was a little flustered at that point. I was starting to go into Killjoy as well, and we just called it there because things were just going bad so quickly. I think the best card he had was like a 7, 8, 9, something like that. It just wasn't good. So Dixon also was getting a little flustered because I think he didn't know that the round was starting that early, coming back from lunch, and he needed to take some of his meds, and all that combined, he was just kind of gave a polite rage quit to it and was just like, you got this, you killed Titania, Killjoy is gonna die. It's like, I'm good with it. So it was a quick game, very quick game. So that's why that one wasn't in there. So let's see here, going into round 5, that I killed Dixon. Boop, boop, boop. Andre won a low game against Ryan. Liam beat Jonathan pretty hardly with Hamlin. Landon and Longton played, and Landon got him pretty good. I ended up beating Dixon 8-3. He took In Your Face and let him bleed, very killy things like I knew he would, so I kind of baited him into charging McTavish, and I took In Your Face and Ensnare. Let's see here. Brian beat Owen. Really good game starting to populate in this. Trevor lost a close game to Jim. Anya versus Somer. Jackdaw mirror. That makes me want to throw up. Josh ended up getting it. Probably just purely because Rezzer's Jackdaw is better than Outcast Jackdaw in some situations. So it was definitely interesting to see that weird matchup for sure. Let's see here. And then 10 Thunders Hate Crime. John ended up beating up on Wong with Brewmaster, and cool. So last round. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm 4-1 at this point. So no, I'm going to be towards the top again. And I end up playing against Brian, which is awesome because I have never played against Brian before. Great player, plays Rezzers. So the pool for this one was Plant Explosives again in standard deployment, Deathbeds, Outflank, Espionage, Sweating Bullets, Protect Territory. Now, I wasn't sure if he was going to go more killy with this or if he was going to go schemy. But I was like, okay, he's playing Rezzers. Chances are he's going more killy. I was wrong. We both went schemy. And because of the way he played Karai 2, he had more denial power than I did. And I was playing Zip, which Zip has a lot of denial power, but when there's like 6 summons on the board, yeah, that's a lot of denial that it's hard for Zip to keep up with. So anyways, I took Espionage and Protected Territory, and Brian did the exact same thing. So, yep. We ended up getting into it. Karai with Whisper, Kirio, Lost Love, Enslaved Spirit, Gwison, Carrie, the Ferryman, and Datsuba. And then there was like 3 summon Gaki, 2 summon Enslaved Spirit. Yeah. Felt pretty good. I brought my standard Zip list. This is the one that I played before with 2 Iron Skeeters, Toast, Bo Fishbacher, Maris, Captain Zip, Earl, and First Mate. This one was interesting. It basically, by the end of turn 4, it was tied 5-5. We both scored the strategy. We both got both of our scheme points. There's so many scheme markers being put down by all these summons from Karai that it's hard to stop it consistently. I was able to deny it turn 2, not turn 3 though. There's too many schemes down. I think that also was a mistake on my part because it didn't allow me to score my last point because my Iron Skeeter was engaged and in enemy territory. So it probably wasn't a great move. But I really have to rethink this matchup because it's so efficient. If Zip or another fast model doesn't catch the Lost Love, I think it's very difficult to win this game. But if you can suss out where it is and hold maybe Zip's activation to kill the Lost Love, I think that's very, very much worth it. Kirio is just a pain in the butt because she ends up getting summoned back. Gwisen are annoying because they're taking the hit. And they can eat scheme markers. I didn't get to see what these bottom three models did a ton because they were trying to protect strategy markers from basically my fast models. And Datsuba was basically just hanging around. And Brian will tell me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty positive that Datsuba was just hanging around for Guide Spirit. So that way, if I drop my bomb or if he sees me going towards one of his bombs, that Datsuba can Guide Spirit to move basically a model there to take care of it. And because the Ferryman is a 2-inch reach and a big fat base of 50 millimeters, he can do a good job, or she, whatever, undead creepy thing can, basically defend that area. And Carrie was just kind of interesting, just moving some stuff around, basically just trying to score the strategy. Didn't get to see a lot of the mechanics out of that. The big thing was just Karai with the Chain Spirit, basically take the Willpower Duel, or they get to summon a small minion. I think it was turn 3 that really got bad. I mitigated it a little bit turn 2, but turn 3, it was going through Bo, it was going through Maris. It was kind of my own fault because I brought Karai over to try to kill her, but then she just kind of healed back up, so it didn't work out. Just because Zip doesn't have enough, he has the kidnap power, but I didn't bring a model to finish her off. I think somebody like Beard maybe recommended bringing something like Mancha to really try and punish it. But I don't know, it takes away a lot of scheming power, and there weren't very many killy schemes. So, I don't know, I just got to really rethink this matchup and think about what I need to do with it. Because getting that many little dudes makes it hard to deny the endpoints. I was able to keep up pretty much until turn 5. Turn 5 is where it was too overwhelming. There was too much AP on the board. So, but I will say Zip did his job very well on locking things down and making life difficult for his models. Once again, the 2-inch reach, didn't do any pianos because ghosts don't care about pianos. But the 2-inch reach with Boring Conversation, not getting bonuses, and then also the concealment was just really, really good. But it meant that Zip wasn't going to contest other parts of the board. And in retrospect, I probably should have used Zip more to hunt after the Lost Love and those other pieces. But that's a lesson learned. I haven't played against Karai 2 in a long time. And especially with Zip, I haven't played against Karai. I think the last time I played against Karai, I was playing Von Schill. So that was way more manageable because Von Schill actually has killing power. And Eric makes it hard to summon Ghosty Boys. So, yeah, like I said, this one was tie game up until turn 5. I needed a couple flips go my way to score my espionage and also to score the explosive marker. But because of the way things, I needed things to happen, and I didn't have enough models left alive to showboat. So if you look at mine, Earl was dead turn 5, a Skeeter was dead turn 5, Toast was dead turn 5, and Bo was kind of locked down. Actually, I think Bo died turn 4. Maris was kind of locked down. First Mate was going around scheming, kind of trying to react. One of the Iron Skeeters was locked down, and Zip, of course, can't scheme anyways. He can just deny. So, yeah, just didn't have it turn 5. So Brian ended up getting this one I believe it was 8-6. The only reason was because he could put his strategy marker on the midline to score, and he wanted to make sure he got another point for standings. So I was able to get the 4th point of the Plant Explosive because he put it on the center line, because he was a gentleman, and I appreciate that. So as we get into the round 6, you can see some fun games that happen. John and Icky probably played a good tight game there, getting 6 VPs. Jackdaw against Brewmaster 2. Let's see, what other fun ones do we have this round? Jared beat Owen. That's a good win. Playing Nakima, so gross. Makes me want to throw up. Liam beat Ryan. Ryan played some really tough opponents this weekend. Definitely proud of the way he finished. I think he was 3-2-1. Pretty good over the weekend. Let's see here. Andre ended up beating Landon by a point. I lost 8-6. Dixon tied Jim. Killjoy scoring points. Hashtag Killjoy OP. So a couple things, just finishing up this live stream. So I think it was a good mix in the standings. You do see 10 Thunders kind of rounding out a lot of the top spots. Spoiler, 10 Thunders are good. 10 Thunders are good. I did finish top of the Bayou pile, though. I got Best in Faction. Got my cool little Best in Faction Texas medallion here. I also got this cool Bayou rulebook that's printed. So everybody that's Best in Faction got one of these fancy, there we go, fancy rulebooks printed on this fancy kind of old paper looking stuff. So this is really cool. Stole it from Jim. And then something else that was really cool that I'm trying to, like, this is why you want to go to the Houston Fodown and other kind of cool events like this, because they did these custom tokens this year. So these widgets, these proxy bases, and also some scrap and corpse markers. So they created these 50 mil bases, not bases, but tokens that you can use. Like, I'm going to use these for pit traps. They're double-sided. So you can be like, the gremlin's going to be pit traps. This one's going to be whatever else. Also got these cool like scheme/strategy markers that are double-sided. So these are really cool. I use those for strategy markers and schemes. And then, like I said, there's these double-sided scrap and corpse markers. And they're really cool. They're made out of this, like, I think, what did Doug say? That they're made out of like chips, micro motherboards, chipboards, something like that. And basically make them into these really cool widgets. Like, they're really solid. They're super thin. So when I put them into my little tray, I stack them as 2, and they got some heft to them. They're really nice too. So that's why I like going to events like that, because some of these people like Doug just do an amazing job giving out swag like that to people. Also, a lot of new players got some really cool boxes. I know one of my new friends from Arkansas, he ended up getting the Molly Brine and Bones box, and he's definitely going to enjoy having somebody paint that up for him. So just a super good event. Lots of awesome people there. Had Liam come from Australia. Had a lot of people come from different parts of the States. And just a lot of good fun. Just a lot of really cool people. Very competitive. It was funny. I was talking to Trevor about this because he went to Captain Con with me as well. And we were talking about how he did in Captain Con and how he felt good about that. But day 2 of this tournament, he was like, man, day 2 is pretty rough. And I talked to him about it and was like, this is a very top heavy tournament. Like, there's a good mix of players, but I would say out of the 35 players, I'd say 20 of those players are very solid, like moderate to very good. Whereas Captain Con, I feel like you have more of like, I don't know, maybe the top third was very good, but then it was a mix of moderate to just new-ish players, not very good, or newer and kind of fluffy and more fun-based, which is fine. But yeah, a lot of the Texas players are really good. A lot of the people that come from out of town are very good. It's a good competitive tournament, but it's still fun. Even when I got smashed by Andre, especially those last 2 turns, I still enjoyed playing the game, and it was still competitive, even though I misplayed and then got smashed with fire. Felt good. But yeah, it's just a ton of fun. I couldn't recommend it more. The hotel's great. Walking distance to the game store. We did karaoke. I ended up even singing, even though I wasn't planning on it. Sang a song for my Oklahoma boys and then sang another one for Liam from A Land Down Under. So just real fun time. Got home yesterday. Can't wait for next year. Maybe even if they do the faux tour in June. But let me know what you guys think. It was definitely fun. If you have questions about the event, you can leave that in the in the comments. Just ask me anything about this tournament. We're gonna do a podcast talking about just the event in general, kind of games that we thought were really interesting and things that we noticed about maybe the meta. I will say 10 Thunders are good. I know they didn't crack the top 3, but they're really good. Like, they're in a fantastic spot. Yeah, I would say if you can, the Houston tournament is my favorite tournament of the year. Usually it's the biggest, so you get the biggest pool of players, and it's also, it gives you a chance to really test out your competitive kind of mettle, because you will catch a couple of good players and then you'll even out players at your skill level. But even the guy that finished last, I was talking to actually Tom about this I think today actually, but Tom, Gordon, they can't wait. They're like, I want to get games in. I want to, start prepping for next year, just to make things easier for themselves. Not easier, but just so they can have a better time of getting some better games in, where when they play against a good player, they can keep it a little more competitive. And I think they will, because that's kind of what Trevor did. Trevor got smashed a couple times in Captain Con, and most of Trevor's games were pretty close in this tournament. I will say Trevor definitely burned himself out, because I think he played, what did he play? Played like a game Thursday or two, played like 4 or 5 games Friday, and then we had 6 games over the weekend. So yeah, also Josh just said in the comments that he faced 2 double masters, and I think this tournament was a decent bit of it. Don't care for it, but maybe I'll try it out. There's just some people like double masters and they can make them work. I was actually debating that today myself. I was thinking, does Bayou have like a double master combo that is gross or I can abuse a little bit? And I pretty much came to the conclusion, no, Bayou doesn't have a ton of that. Maybe if you get Zoraida with somebody, but I just don't think it's as good in Bayou. However, in Arcanist, like I play a lot of Sandeep, and there's definitely some double masters that I can run the crap out of with Sandeep. Rasputina with Sandeep, I think that's pretty nasty. Karis with Sandeep, I think that's pretty nasty. I even debated doing Sandeep with Tony 1, so I could just toss her like around the board and just have her go punch stuff while Sandeep sets it on fire. So yeah, I think that there's some masters that better fit together in different factions. 10 Thunder is definitely, so to be fair, either 10 Thunders or Explorers have McCabe, and there's a lot of masters you can pair with McCabe that are problematic. Also, Monk can pair well as a double master. Misaki can pair well as a double master. So I think 10 Thunders are one of the big ones that you'll see. Obviously, Andre, he runs double masters a bunch, so he had Perdita with the new Sonya. So Rezzers have a couple here and there that you can also pair like randomly Sheamus in with Molly or something. So you just give Sheamus like a crap ton of cards. Yeah, I would just be aware of it. It's not most common, because I would say most people in the tournament didn't run double masters, but some people that try to be competitive do like doing it. We used to have a person in North Carolina, Cody. Actually, most people know Cody Hyatt, and he very frequently ran double masters, so you kind of just had to be aware of it. And the good news is, now when you build lists, they have to declare it early, so you're made aware of it before you actually create your list. So you can kind of prep for it quite a bit. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. I had a great time at this event, and look out for more content with the results of this tournament. But until next time, make sure that you guys are flipping cards and flipping tables, and we will see you all